I used to believe love announces itself. Thunder, fireworks, some cosmic drum roll. I was wrong. Mine showed up in a hospital parking lot, in the rain, with a woman yelling at me to move my car. My name's Ray. This is the story of how I lost a job I needed, gained a family I didn't expect, and fell in love with a girl who told me, on the very first day, that she didn't need saves. She was right. She didn't need saving. She needed someone to stop treating her like she did. I'd been out of work 11 weeks. Rent was 2 weeks late, and my landlord had stopped pretending to be patient about it. So when my cousin texted me, "Rich family needs a driver, don't ask questions, just show up," I put on the one clean shirt I owned and drove 40 minutes to a house that looked like it belonged on a postcard. Mr. Whitfield interviewed me himself. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. He asked about my record, my references, whether I could handle sensitive situations with discretion. I said yes to everything, the way you do when your bank account has 3 digits and 2 of them are zeros. "The job," he said, "is driving my daughter to her appointments, her therapy, wherever she needs to go." "No problem, sir." He studied me a long moment. "She's going to test you. She tests everyone. Don't take it personally, and for God's sake, don't pity her. She hates that more than anything." I didn't understand what he meant yet. I would. He led me out to the driveway, where a woman sat in a wheelchair beside a modified SUV, arms crossed, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. Dark hair pulled back, a look on her face like she was daring the world to say something about her. "Sophie," Mr. Whitfield said, "this is Ray, your new driver." She looked me up and down, unimpressed. "How many did we go through this year, Dad? 4? 5, he admitted. "Great track record." She wheeled herself closer, stopping a foot from me, chin lifted. "Let's get one thing straight, Ray. I don't need help getting in the car. I don't need help with the chair. I don't need you opening doors like I'm made of glass. If I need something, I will ask. Are we clear?" "Crystal," I said. "Good." A pause. Something flickered behind those sunglasses. Surprise, maybe, that I hadn't flinched. "Then we'll get along fine. I want you to understand something about Sophie before I go further. She'd been in that chair 3 years by the time I met her. A car accident that took the use of her legs, and, from what I gathered later, nearly took a lot more than that. She'd built walls so high and so fast that most people gave up trying to see over them. I didn't give up. I just didn't try to climb them at first. I think that's what she noticed. The job was simple on paper. Drive her to physical therapy on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Drive her to her law classes on the other days. Wait. Drive her home. In practice, it became something else entirely. She'd talk in the car, not to me exactly, more like at the windshield, working through a case study or complaining about a classmate. I'd listen. Sometimes I'd say something back, and she'd act annoyed that I had an opinion, but she kept talking, so I kept having them. One Thursday, her therapy ran long and I found her in the hallway afterward, jaw clenched, eyes red in a way she was trying very hard to hide. "Bad session?" I asked. "They want to try a new protocol, more painful, less promising." She wheeled past me toward the exit. Don't what?" "Whatever face you're about to make, the sympathy face. I've seen it 100 times. I don't need it from you too," so I didn't make the face. Instead, on the drive home, I took the long way, past the lake where the light was doing something gold and ridiculous through the trees. And I didn't say a word about therapy at all. Just drove. Let her sit with it. She noticed. Of course she noticed. She noticed everything. "You took the long way." "Traffic," I lied. She almost smiled. Almost. That was the thing about Sophie. She didn't want to be handled. She wanted to be seen and then left alone to handle herself. It took me a while to understand the difference. Once I did, everything changed. 3 weeks in, I made the mistake, or the best decision of my life, depending how you look at it, of stopping for ice cream on the way to therapy, thinking it might soften the appointment ahead. I fumbled the cup, handing it over. It went straight down her shirt. I froze. Every instinct screamed, "Apologize, grab napkins, fix this fast." And I caught myself halfway into reaching for her before I remembered. She doesn't want to be handled, so instead, I just laughed. At myself mostly. "I am so sorry. That was genuinely impressive, how bad that was." She stared at me, ice cream dripping down her collar, and then, for the first time, she actually laughed. A real one, surprised out of her. "You're an idiot," she said. "Confirmed idiot, yes. I like it with nuts, by the way. Next time." and she wheeled herself off toward the therapy office, still laughing, ice cream and all. I sat in that parking lot grinning like a fool for a full minute before I trusted myself to drive anywhere. I think that was the day it started, not fireworks. Just ice cream on a blouse and a laugh I couldn't stop thinking about. I started noticing a pattern at the house. Every couple of weeks, there'd be a dinner guest. Always a young man, always impeccably dressed, always awkward in the exact same way. Like they'd been given a script and forgot half their lines. I asked Sophie about it once, driving her home from a study group. "My dad's project," she said flatly, staring out the window. "He thinks if he introduces enough eligible bachelors, one will stick. Convince me, marriage is still on the table, that I'm still a good investment." Her voice went brittle on that last word. "That's not what you are. Tell that to the men my father parades through the dining room like show ponies." She caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "You're quiet tonight. Just driving. You get weird every time we talk about the dinners." I didn't answer that. I didn't trust what would come out if I did. I want to be honest with you here. I was jealous. Plain, ordinary, embarrassing jealousy. The kind you're not supposed to feel about your boss's daughter. About someone whose life you had absolutely no claim to. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself a lot of things that spring that turned out not to be true. It came to a head on a rainy Tuesday. Because of course it did. Because rain seemed to follow every important moment in this story. When I picked her up from a dinner she hadn't wanted to attend, she got in the car without a word, slammed the door, more or less, with her arms. "How was it?" I asked, already knowing. "His name is Marcus. He talked about his boat for 40 minutes. 40, I counted. Sounds thrilling. Don't what? Don't act like you find this funny when I can tell you don't." She turned to face me fully. "You've been off for weeks, Ray. Ever since the dinners started. What is it?" I should have lied. I should have said, "Nothing. Just tired." Instead, something in me just gave out. "It's not my place to have an opinion about who your father sits across from you at dinner. That's not an answer. I know. Ray, I don't like it, okay?" It came out sharper than I meant it to. 3 years of careful driving and careful silence cracking open in one sentence. I don't like watching some guy who's never once asked what you actually want sit across from you like he's shopping. I don't like that you go quiet in the car after. I don't like any of it, and I know it's not my business, and I know my job is to drive, not to have feelings about Ray, and I should stop talking now. Ray, softer this time. I looked over. She wasn't angry. She was looking at me like she was seeing something she hadn't let herself look at directly before. "Say something," I said, "or I'm going to keep making a fool of myself. Pull over." I pulled over. Rain drumming on the roof. Neither of us said anything for a long moment. "I fire the ones who pity me," she finally said, quiet. "I fire the ones who baby me. I never fire the ones who argue with me about ice cream and then get weird and jealous about my father's terrible dinner parties." A breath. "I was starting to wonder if you even saw me. Turns out you saw me the whole time. I saw you the first day. Sunglasses in the rain, daring the world to say something." She almost smiled. "I remember that day. So do I." I'm not going to pretend the rest of that conversation was smooth or perfectly worded. It wasn't. There was a lot of stammering, a lot of, "I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is allowed. I don't know if you even." But somewhere in the middle of all that fumbling, her hand found mine on the seat between us, and the rest of the sentence didn't matter anymore. We kept it quiet for a while. Weeks. I told myself it was practical. Her father was still my employer after all, and I had no illusions about how that conversation might go. But really, I think we were just protecting something new and fragile the way you cup your hands around a candle in the wind. It didn't stay quiet forever. Nothing that matters ever does. Mr. Whitfield found out the way most fathers find out things, badly, and at the worst possible moment, walking into the garage to find his daughter laughing at something I'd said, her hand resting on my arm like it had always belonged there. He didn't yell. That was almost worse. He just went very still, the way powerful men do when they're recalibrating. "My office," he said. "Now. I won't drag out that conversation for you beat by beat. I'll tell you the parts that mattered." "You work for me," he said. "I know, you drive my daughter. That was the arrangement." "I know that too, sir. And somewhere along the way you decided, I didn't decide anything, sir. I fell in love with her. It wasn't a decision. It just happened. The way these things happen, whether either of us planned for it or not. He stared at me a long time. I braced for the door, for the end of the job, maybe the end of ever seeing her again. Instead, he sat down heavily behind his desk, and something in his face cracked open. Not anger anymore, just tiredness, and underneath it, love. All those dinner guests suddenly made sense to me in a different light. "Do you know how many men I've paraded through my house?" he said quietly, hoping one of them would look at her the way you just looked at me when you said her name. I didn't have an answer for that. "None of them ever did," he said. "Not once. He didn't give us his blessing that day." Not exactly. But he didn't fire me either. And 3 weeks later, when I picked Sophie up for our first real date, no job attached, no pretending, he was the one who opened the front door for us and didn't say a single word about it. Just nodded. That was enough. I want to tell you about one more night before I get to the end of this story. Because it's the one I go back to most. It was late autumn. I'd found an old drive-in that still ran on weekends, half forgotten, mostly empty. I didn't tell her where we were going, just packed blankets, terrible gas station snacks, and drove. "A drive-in?" she said when we pulled up, half lawing. "Ray, this is the most nothing date I've ever been on. Give it a chance." We watched some old comedy neither of us really followed, wrapped in blankets in the back of the modified SUVs, the seats folded flat, the night cold and clear above the screen. Somewhere around the second act, I fell asleep. Actually fell asleep, mid-sentence, mortifyingly, and woke to the credits rolling and her watching me with an expression I'd never seen on her before. Soft, unguarded, nothing daring the world to say something about it. "You fell asleep," she said. "I did. I'm so sorry. I liked it." She said it simply, like a confession. "Everyone else in my life is always performing for me, Ray. Trying so hard. You just fell asleep in the middle of a date because you were comfortable enough to. Is that a good thing?" "It's the best thing anyone's done for me in 3 years." I think that was the night I understood what my job had actually been this whole time. Not driving her places. Just being the kind of person she never had to perform for. I won't drag this out. You already know where this story ends. You knew from the title, probably, or you wouldn't still be here. 2 years after that rainy parking lot, I took her back to it. Same spot, same overcast sky, though thankfully no rain that day. "Why here?" she asked, wheeling up beside the car, eyebrow raised. "Because this is where I met the only person who ever looked at me and saw exactly what I was worth before I'd done a single thing to earn it." I got down on one knee, which, with her, always meant getting down to her level, looking her straight in the eye, no one above or below anyone else. And I asked her. She said yes before I finished the sentence. Then she made me finish it anyway, because she wanted the whole thing, every word, and I gave it to her, voice shaking, grinning like an idiot in a hospital parking lot for the second time in my life. Her father cried at the wedding. Loudly, unapologetically. He told me afterward it was the first time in 3 years he'd watched his daughter walk into a room, not in the chair, not out of it, just walk in the way that mattered, like she owned every inch of the ground beneath her. People ask me sometimes how I knew. How you tell the difference between infatuation and the real thing, between a crush and a life. Here's what I tell them. Infatuation wants to fix someone. Love wants to know them exactly as they are, and then just stay. Sophie never needed saving. She told me that the very first day, sunglasses on, chin up, daring me to treat her like she did. I never tried to save her, I just never left. And somewhere along the road, the long way home, past the lake in the gold light through the trees, I stopped being her driver. I became the man lucky enough to be along for the ride.